Well, hello everybody and welcome back. This is David Bianco. Well, the big news in the music world over the last few weeks has been, well, not Taylor Swift for a change. It's the Beatles. They're back with a single Now and Then, and now releasing the Red and Blue albums again with remixes and additional material. I've listened to the remixes digitally, and I've also, of course, listened to Now and Then. And I'm going to give you some up-to-date impressions coming up next here on the Safe and Sound Texas Audio Excursion. So I'll say it, I'm a big Beatles fan. I have been since I was a kid. I was about 7 years old when they hit the big time. Started listening to music in probably June or July of 1963, and the Beatles hit it in the U.S. late in 1963, and of course got on Ed Sullivan in February of 1964, and the rest, as they say, is history. Now, through an old tape that existed that John had created with a song called Now and Then, and updated technology, and the two existing Beatles, Ringo Starr and Paul McCartney, joining in and putting together a new production of a single, the Beatles have, well, hit number one again, it looks like. And that's quite a feat today's world, with Taylor Swift owning the charts, it seems like. But beyond that, they also have released the Red and Blue records that really reintroduced them in the 70s to a next generation. And now 50 years later, here we are after the Beatles introduction, and these records are going to be coming out now starting today on the 10th of November. And they will be presenting remixes of their songs. Now, for the most part, the remixes are new on the red, and only a few are new on the blue, but I'm going to focus on the red. But before I get to that, I do want to talk about Now and Then, because it kind of has been played a lot lately, and I've listened to it several times and really tried to get my impressions of it. I gave a first impression video, and I want to go just a tad further now. So this perspective is listening to it a little more critically, as if I was someone who was going to be mixing it or putting together the sounds that made this song the final production that came out. And I can't help but think these things. John's vocals sound like it comes through a PVC pipe to me. Maybe a big PVC pipe, but still very narrow and very thin. And it is dead center, no pun intended. And it just really seems like they could have done more with that. His voice could have been given more aura and spaciousness to emphasize the effect of the voice coming from maybe like another dimension. It seems a little bit lazy, the way they just laid it there in the center and just cleaned it up and threw it in the middle. And then, to boot, they throw Ringo's drumming right on top of it. No real separation whatsoever. I mean, I don't understand why there is so little imaging. The mix basically needs the strings and the orchestration to widen everything. The acoustic guitar at the beginning is a little bit off center, but for the most part, it's the orchestration that has to provide some body to the song. And I really think they made some mistakes here. The backing vocals don't really have a lot of life and orientation in here as well. They're not juxtaposed to the middle. I just really believe that they could have done more to give this song more aura and more openness, and to be more enjoyable, especially on headphones. And that's how I've listened to it so far. And so for me, that's kind of a disappointment. I mean, the song is fairly simplistic song, like a lot of Beatles songs. And so it's reflective song, obviously. And if you see the video with it, of course, you get that emotional appeal back to the days when they were together. A lot of creativity in the video, ironically. I thought the video was very well done. But there isn't that same creativity in the production of the song now and then in my mind. And that's unfortunate. I think that's a missed opportunity. Now, going to the Red album, where the most remixing would be of value, because a lot of those early songs of the Beatles, you know, they had the pan stereo or simulated stereo or whatever it might have been, and it always has been a rub that those really sounded so archaic. Of course, they sounded like what was available at the time technology-wise, and I'll acknowledge it. Digital has done what analog could not. Let's face it. This era of music that we are listening to and where it came from needed cleanup. It needed a better approach, and now we have the technology to do that. And so we get it in these songs. And I'm just going to give you my run through of the songs that had the most change to them and what I think their improvement was. So Love Me Do, although it maybe wasn't the best session selection, it does have a real soft and gentle stereo separation that's indicative kind of the lesser technology and recording techniques of the time. But it is an improvement over the original, and I give that rating of improvement a B+. Now, Please Please Me, the stereo here is near perfect without that hard panning left and right of the originals that we lived with for over 50 years. The instruments and voices are well balanced, and the song is so much more enjoyable than the original stereo. So the improvement there gets an A. I Saw Her Standing There right from the get-go is a real refresh in the sound. The guitar riffs, the hand claps, the drums are all distinct and well balanced in the mix. The guitars are especially more distinct and engaging, as well as the drums. And so this one gets an A+ in improvement, one of the strongest, and really made me want to listen to it again. Twist and Shout, like Please Please Me, this one gets the vocal centered and balance of the instrumentation without pushing anything to excess. So it's a very enjoyable listen with the vocals not panned to one end or the other, and the guitar work on this is especially clean. That one gets an improvement of an A. From Me to You has a much fuller sound for the song, more than I've ever heard before. The bass is more present, the vocals more crisp, the guitar strums very distinct, and the harmonica on this is not pushed too hard like it had been on some previous mixes. So this one gets an A for improvement as well. She Loves You is a song that was really not recorded that well in the first place and never really had the greatest sound, but the stereo separation that's present here is not too extreme. The vocals are kind of soft and really placed well, and more of Ringo's drum work is evident. So here I give the improvement to be a B+. Part of that being that the original recording had limitations, I believe. I Want to Hold Your Hand, which was the first single released in the U.S. by the Beatles, has a real fresh sound. Ringo's kick drum is very evident in this song, and it's a really well-balanced mix, and it's a bit more crisp sounding than previous tracks on this album. It really gave me that chill I got in December of '63 when I first heard this song. This one gets an A+ in improvement. It's really, really good. The song This Boy, the initial guitar strums are very precise and clean, and the brush and hi-hat work of Ringo is much more evident on this one. It's really well balanced without excessive echo that sometimes mixes would have had in the past to emphasize things to compensate. So the improvement here is a B+. All My Lovin' is not a lot different. It's a tad cleaner, and it does bring some of Ringo's work more into the sound stage, so that one gets a B- improvement. And Roll Over Beethoven, I'd say, is about the same in improvement. Really got a hold on me. The guitar work here is a bit more precise and evident, and the vocals here are very well centered, with Ringo's cymbal taps being very clear, much more than ever before. So we get a B of improvement on that song. Can't Buy Me Love, I didn't find it that much different than the other mixes, so it's like a C. It's just average. It really didn't do much. Now, you can't do that. John's voice is pushed back a bit with the guitar and drums more profound. The cowbell in here is not as excessive as it is on some of the other mixes, and it fits just right in this one. The vocals do seem a bit soft compared to previous versions, which had a bit more precision to them. So this one, unfortunately, gets a B-. It is an improvement, but not a huge improvement. Hard Day's Night. If you like bongos, we got bongos, because you can hear those puppies in this one. They're much more evident in this mix. They're not overly excessive, but it really does bring a kind of a, boy, I never really heard that much of that effect to it. So that one gets a B+ for adding that percussive element. And I Love Her, one of their best ballads. The wood block that gets hit there is a bit reduced, while the bongo accompaniment is more present. But the overall balance of instruments and vocals is well overall, and the strum of the acoustic guitars seem a bit less precise than I've heard before, where the movements of the strings actually were in the image. So this is a B- on this one. 8 Days a Week, really well balanced with the chorus vocal separation perfectly placed. Really is great, the vocals on this and the way they're laid out there. So that one gets a B+. They really did a good job in that one, and the vocals are the most evident thing. I Feel Fine. The guitar precision at the intro is extremely well done, and the normal large echo effect that this song would have, especially in the US versions, is really reduced, while Ringo's cymbal work is much more evident and enjoyable. The vocal separation is subtle but very effective on this, and the guitar work is very distinct and present. So that one gets a B+ in improvement. Ticket to Ride, we have a lead vocal that's a bit more distinct, and Ringo's kick drum is definitely more evident, so that gets a B for improvement. Yesterday, Paul McCartney's solo there, his voice seems much more distinct and above the center with better clarity. The acoustic guitar plucks are very precise and evident, so that one gets a B+ in improvement. The title track to their second movie, Help, Ringo's drums are a bit off-center and helps them stand out a little bit more, so you can pick up on them separately. The acoustic guitar riffs are much more evident, as are the electric guitar chorus riffs, so we get a B on that one in improvement. You've Got to Hide Your Love Away from the movie Help is a bit better in detail with improved tambourine and maraca presence in the percussion side, and the acoustic guitars on this are very well balanced in the mix and separated, so that one gets a B as well. We Can Work It Out, we see Ringo's drum work a little more evident. The accordion that's in there is not as pronounced as previous, with vocals taking up a step up. So that one actually didn't really impact me as much. The drumming was a little better, but I gave that a B- because some of the sounds there that song just didn't quite balance well from my recollection of it. Now, Day Tripper, which actually was the flip side of the 45 of We Can Work It Out, we have less vocal echo present, making it a bit more of a driving effect of the song. And the electric guitars, left and right, bookended the melody really nicely with the instrumental mid-song, seeming to have more emphasis on the drums and the rhythm guitar. And they made a nice cleanup of the guitar dropout that was present in the tape with the old versions that we used to hear. And that's a B+. Drive My Car, the intro drum hits of Ringo are more subtle, which is a shame because that's really a good beginning. The cowbell is quieter, as is the lead guitar mid-song, while the rhythm guitar gets more volume. And there is less echo on the vocals, which keeps the vocals more precise. But because of some of those percussive elements being a little less, Ringo's efforts there, I'm going to give it a B- because it loses a little bit of that drive. Norwegian Wood, the sitar stands out much more, and it has better imaging, and the tambourine has a more distinct clinging sound of the jingles or the metal discs. And the vocal there is a bit softer and subdued, which for this kind of song is okay, but it is a little bit more subdued. So that one gets a B. Nowhere Man, really do appreciate the vocal separations here. They're much better than the original, and Ringo's cymbal taps are more evident. The electric guitar is subdued, unfortunately, and that really does take it down a notch. The vocal improvement is ruined by the guitar being stifled some. So this one's definitely like a B minus. I really was surprised by the fact that that guitar got less play, no pun intended. Michelle, the bass was much more well-defined, as is Ringo's work on this track, and Paul's vocal is very smooth, but the string precision on the acoustic guitar has been better on some of the mixes than this one, and so that imprecision gives it a B minus in improvement. In My Life, the vocal echo is less evident and the instruments in their precision is improved, including cymbal hits and tambourine. So we get a B on In My Life. Coming down to the last three here, If I Needed Someone, the vocals are well centered and crisp, and the guitar riffs are well balanced in the image. And the tambourine is well integrated without being pushed forward too much and forced. So this one gets a B in improvement. Girl, the vocals of John are very soft, dead center, with Ringo's snares hits much more evident. And the guitar riffs from the acoustic guitars toward the end in each channel are very distinct and poignant. So that one gets a B. Finally, Paperback Writer is a 2022 remix. And the vocal precision is evident across the song, as are Ringo's hi-hats. It's well balanced in the separation, and the improvement is a B. Now, there are other songs on this Red, but they are more mixes from the Revolver album and other mixes we've heard. So I tried to focus on the new ones that we've had here in this, and understand that the earlier material had a better opportunity for more improvement because of the nature of, you know, how poor in some cases the mixes were back in the day. So, you know, it's harder to make a big improvement on some of these later ones because they're pretty decent in the first place. So when we get to those early ones getting A's, it's because they had more room to improve. And so for me, this is a delightful update in the sense that many of these songs definitely sound better, and that's good. And again, digital technology and the capabilities have allowed us to be able to do a lot of these things that we're hearing. And it's good to hear these now in a way that takes them out of that mold of that old left-right separation and panning that went on back in the day when we really just had to live with what it was. So I'd say this is a worthy investment for anyone who wants to hear these done in a way that is much more pleasing to the ear, especially on headphones. And in fact, they really did a decent job here, and I appreciate that. I have listened to the 6770. There weren't a lot of new cuts on there. The one that I want to mention is I Am the Walrus, because it's really poor. I don't know what happened there, but it mid-song when they tried, they tried to remix that, the voice pushed back, and it really, that one is a train wreck in my opinion. The rest of it sounded pretty decent, but again, those are older songs and have had more recent remixes and really didn't need as much improvement, I don't think. I think the Red album definitely is the one that needed it and got it. And I think they were successful in their efforts as it relates to the Red album. So those are my thoughts on the Beatles and what's happened here in early November 2023 with this release. We got a lot of songs from the early catalog that we didn't have before that were redone, and I think that's a good thing, because I do like that era, because it reminds me of how I grew up and what I grew up with at the time back in 63, 64, 65, in those days. So again, as always, thanks for watching. If you haven't subscribed, please press on the bell below and the all option. And if you'd give a thumbs up or like, I'd appreciate it. And any comments you might have to share, I'd like seeing those too. So until we catch you next time, thanks for joining me here at the Safe and Sound Texas Audio Excursion. Take care, everybody.